Welcome to the Cincy PostCast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I want to tell you about our good friends, Streetside Brewery. Oh, the best daggone brewery you're going to find in the city of Cincinnati. We are so happy to have them on board. And I don't know if Grayson knows this, but we are intending to hold a pre-game watch party for the away leg of the best of three series in the playoffs at Streetside as the postcast. We will preview the game. We have some fun and exciting giveaways to have there. I think it'll be a good time. The problem is we don't know the exact date of this game, and I am hoping, fingers crossed, that the date does work for Streetside as well. However, assuming it works, get ready for it, okay? We are going to be hosting a live pregame show, lead right up into the game. Should be a blast. I think we're going to all have a lot of fun looking forward to the away leg of the playoffs. And when that happens, we will find out on decision day or shortly thereafter. In the meantime, you can check out Streetside Brewery over in the Columbia Tusculum East End neighborhood. Go check them out. If you can't get to them, which you should, you can go buy them locally at various beer proprietors. Okay. So it's a good time. It's a good beer. It's delicious beer. Go check them out. And when that schedule drops, we will give you more information on the live show. So thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, dear listener, for eventually showing up to that show. And on today's show, it's a very easy intro because what we have for you is a big, long conversation with Carter Chapley. Carter knows this team better than anyone. If anyone knows it better than him, one, they're probably on the coaching staff, and two, they don't. They're lying to you, okay? Carter's a great resource. We love reading his work on the FC Cincinnati website. It's a really good conversation. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And that is the entire episode, a great little international break episode for us. So enjoy the conversation with Carter and enjoy another edition of the postcast. Well, joining us here on the postcast, an incredibly special guest, a reoccurring guest, but not reoccurring enough for my tastes. We are joined by the one and only Carter Chapley, FC Cincinnati expert. Carter, how you doing this evening?
Experts a lot, but I'm good. It's a weird week in my life, given that it's international break. You don't get these ones, so it's like an oddly strange, like, I don't know what to do this week. There's usually a game on Saturday that I have to like start gearing up to, but I have 2 weeks off. So like just been trying to pace myself, I guess. We only get so many of these before the end of the year.
Kevin, you also shorted him a little bit. He has actually co-hosted the show at one point when you and Grayson were otherwise unavailable.
I did do that
not
once.
Just a guest.
I did. We did do that, didn't we? Yeah.
That certainly was a thing that happened.
I wasn't here. It didn't happen.
As I say, if that's what you want to call it, co-hosting, I kind of felt like I was just like on a Zoom and then it went out, like it got publicized.
It's usually how this happens, actually.
It's like I talked and audio content resulted on the other end. I'm not really certain how it happened, but it exists now in perpetuity.
There used to be radio standards. They used to go out over the air and you had to keep with the FCC, and it was now you just get on a Zoom and all of a sudden you're on iTunes.
The other tiny piece of that is like with radio, there's a whole bunch of restrictions on like the volume changes between like the peaks and valleys of your wavelengths and things like that. Thank God I do not have to worry about a single thing like that. So
Spotify doesn't care.
No, and they're just going to compress it to hell anyway. So Carter, I do want to know, and again, not trying to get you in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Does the team give you subscriptions to every single streaming service so you can track all of the 500 FC Cincinnati players on international duty this week?
No, gosh, no. Usually we can compile enough shared passwords from things people have. Like today we had the Sierra Leone Burkina Faso game up on the TV we have in the office. That was on ESPN Plus. Someone has ESPN Plus so they can watch. I think it's Marshall football. Do you know who you are? Because I know you're gonna end up being the one having to listen to this. So we've got that. I've got YouTube TV, so that covers a lot of bases. Someone else, like we have Apple. We do get Apple. That is you know,
that's nice.
You know, that's nice. But like eventually you can piece together just enough. You know, Paramount Plus, and there's a lot on that. Someone has that. You know, we can piece it together. So no, we do not have all of them though.
Is there one person's computer who is the designated? We're going to get on and find the bootleg stream on this machine because nobody else wants to like. Yeah. We don't want to risk a virus on something that's like actually important.
We haven't gotten to that point yet, but it definitely feels like it would be mine because for some reason the TV remote lives at my desk. I'm not like closest to the television, but I do end up having the remote at my desk most often because it's like figure it out. So I feel like whenever the time comes where it's like, hey, we got to watch the Slovakia U21 Euro qualifier against someone else. It's only on shadystreams.net. It'll end up being my like iPad or my computer that'll end up doing that. But no, we have not gotten to that part yet.
Nice. Shadystreams.net.ru or something like that. Which for me personally, I used to do that a lot to watch NFL games. The trick is do it on your video game console's browser because there's absolutely nothing to hack on that. So, or if there is, my Xbox would have melted at this point from the number of shady stream services I've used on there.
Certainly a lot less to hack, that's for sure. Than your like personal computer, that's for sure.
Right.
Or my office computer, that is. Yeah.
If they want access to my Call of Duty account, they can have at it.
But for the record, for IT, I don't do that.
No,
I do not do that.
Never.
Eric, I don't do that.
Has not happened. Carter, I find you to be a uniquely qualified person to talk about this FC Cincinnati team for this reason and this reason alone. You had, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I got this right. You covered the St. Louis City expansion year.
Yes, I did.
And that was a team that got lots of good results, coasted their way right on to the first place in the Western Conference. But I think a lot of people would say didn't pass the eye test, and some of the underlying numbers didn't necessarily back up their place in the Shield standings. How would you compare and contrast the Bradley Carnell St. Louis Year One experiment and the FC Cincinnati team that we have seen for this season?
Well, for starters, I think the difference between those two teams right off the bat is that I think FC Cincinnati is pretty well known for whatever they're going to do. Like, for better or for worse, this team is what it is. Pat Noonan has had, I think, 4 years now to establish what he does. And we can talk about whether you like that, whether you don't like that. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And there might be variations to that. I think we do see changes in how things go. I really do. I know that doesn't always seem like that, but I do see variation in the way they approach different games.
Yeah.
I think, this game in particular, like the game they played against New York in particular, was an interesting variation from what they've done in the past. But regardless, they know what they're going to do. There's certain principles that FC Cincinnati has. That St. Louis team was a total like dice roll. Like it was completely new. You had no idea. Most of those players, you had no familiarity with. There was no understanding. So like when they came out of the gate, it was kind of like, who knows what this team is? And I don't think there has been quite the same one-to-one comparison of like the St. Louis expansion season and the other teams in terms of like fall off.
Yeah.
Nashville was competitive. LAFC was competitive. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen to San Diego, but like you imagine a world in which they don't just go from like first in the West to last place and miss the place 2 years in a row.
Right.
But I do think that like no one else quite knew what they wanted to do, but that St. Louis team had a very keen understanding of what they were going to be. And credit to Bradley Carnell, who I have a lot of respect for. He was really lovely to work with in those kind of like 5, 6, 7 months that were like only 4 months of actual play, but in the lead up to, he was really great to work with professionally. He was very welcoming. He really wanted to have the media in St. Louis understand what they were trying to do and communicate that to the fan base. They were they brought us in for a meeting. It was very strange. I've never had that happen before, like ever in my covering college basketball, covering baseball. They were like, here's what we're going to do. And I want you to publish this. Like, I want you to put it in the newspaper that this is our formation. This is our tactics. I've never had that happen. So it was very strange, but they had a really good sense. And so I think while everyone else was trying to figure them out, St. Louis knew what they wanted to do and then eventually got figured out. I think, if you want to compare and contrast that to this FC Cincinnati team, which I'm not quite sure. I mean, I guess that first season you can compare and contrast them in terms of like point success, points generated. I think from jump, the question was, how are these players going to play together? Not what is the idea? Yeah. And so I think a lot of teams come in to play FC Cincinnati and they may not have a perfect sense of what to do, but they have an understanding of what they're going to be facing. And that's just by the very nature of when you have a coach and a group of players that are generally structured the same way. There's only so many variations. And I'm not trying to say that they've become predictable. I won't get cornered into that take, but like, that's generally where I think I would compare and contrast those two groups.
So you said that you've noticed that there's been some things that the team has done different over the course of this year. To you, as we find ourselves sort of on the precipice of the final game of the season, what has been the biggest change that you have noticed from the team that left Clearwater in terms of what they're doing and how they play, and the team that we find ourselves with at the end of the season?
This might be where my the funny biggest criticism of this team is that like I think for a long time they had a hard, like for the first 3 months, let's say, I almost have a moment in my head which is like the deciding moment, which is like the Montreal away game is what I want to say, is that like this team had a lot of players on this team who nobody knew whose team it was. And then eventually, like, I think Pat Noonan came into a press conference and was like, we need to get the ball to Evander. Like, this is what we need to do. We need to get the ball to Evander. And then they got the ball to Evander and they went on a bit of a winning streak, right? And they figured out what to do. And then they go on this stretch where they have trouble scoring goals. And I think it's because everyone is trying to be the guy. Everyone is trying, like you have Luca Orshana trying to be the guy, Kevin Denke trying to be the guy, Evander, you have guys all over the field trying to be the guy and fix the problem. So no one's the guy. What's the old quarterback line? If you have two quarterbacks, you have none. Yeah. I think there was times in which this team was struggling to understand like how to play with each other and how to play through each other. And I think it's almost kind of like the take might be like too little too late, but like I think Brenner has come in, to his credit. And I think there is a general sense now of like the team understands like how to flow through each other, where the hierarchy is, and you have guys who understand those elements. And so I think you can kind of see things like, for example, I think there's a couple plays this past, let's say 2 or 3 weeks, where Ender Echenique gets launched up the right wing. He cuts in. All he has to do is make the final pass. There's 3 guys running into that space. Ender doesn't know who to give it up to. I think there are times in which Ender just takes the shot himself and it's poor either way. Now they're trying to figure out who he gives it up to. The same thing comes on the other side. Luca Orashano gets the ball, cuts in. Now what? There's 3 different, before I think Brenner has come in and helped solve a little of this by adding another like person to play off of up front. But they struggle to find like what the next connecting pass is, which is where like, I think this team struggles to generate final third chances, not final third off, not like attacking half offense. They oftentimes get out in the attacking half. They struggle in that final third because I think one of 2 things happens. It's either early in the game and they're on plan, or it's the middle part of the game and everyone's trying to improvise and find who the right guy is. And I think this team struggles with their decision making as to like who and when to go to in what moment and when to call their own number. Because I think sometimes like the right decision is for the MLS All-Star / MLS near All-Star / MLS past All-Star to pull the trigger. And I think they sometimes struggle to do that. And so you end up seeing like 1 pass too many or 1 pass too few as to when they should have taken a shot. And so I think the more I watch this team in the last couple of weeks, they still haven't found the rhythm of like how to play with each other, but I do find themselves more often knowing when a bad situation pops up and when to find the next guy. It's like the final product that's the problem. And so I would like to see that. I think in order to win MLS Cup, you kind of have to get to that final product. But I think I can see it developing a little bit better, which may not be a satisfying answer to be like, the star players are playing better together. Like, wow, great. That might not be satisfying, but I do see it in a more cohesive way than it was when we broke for Clearwater. I think this team really struggled to know who to play through and who to play to. Yeah.
I think too that like the narrative of the season has been the season's incredibly long, so it's difficult to track, but it's
part of it. Yeah.
At least we forget Lucho Acosta was on this team as they were, getting ready to go down to Florida in Florida. I forget the exact timeline. And Vander shows up as the team is leaving Florida. Like this is a team that had its true number one ace completely, he said all this stuff in the winter, but you never know how things are going to shake out. Take it away from them at the last second. A new guy plugged in at the last second. And the fact that they were this far, I don't know. How should we view that? Is Evander enough of it certainly was expensive enough to be a 1-for-1 and the expectation should have been maintained that high? Or is there some grace that we should have for a team that had to start over in that key position?
Well, for starters, I don't want to have to go back to preseason every time we talk about this team and be like, the season was over, remember, right? Like the season was over before, like there has been like, regardless of how I answer this, there has been plenty of time in the, X number of months, in the 10 months since to get this on track and get this working together. And I think it wouldn't be unfair to say like, has the offense looked as like lethal as you'd expect? Maybe not. But I think like there's been plenty of time since, and so that's a different kind of conversation. I think Evander has obviously proven to be a player who can be a 1-for-1 replacement to the MLS MVP, because like lest for one of the greatest players in the history of the game coming to MLS, you're probably looking at a season in which he's back-to-back MVPs, whether it's last year with Portland or this year with FC Cincinnati. He's clearly been enough to plug in and I think if he gets 2 goal contributions, he'll break Acosta's 24 like single season points record for the club. So like he's very clearly been a player who can step in and be a plug and play player. And so in the meantime, they've had plenty of time to kind of figure out how to build around him. And I think you're seeing that kind of by virtue of the team goes as Evander goes. This is, it's kind of like how, what was the record? There was a record for some point. Remember we talked about it. That was like the team is something in X, whatever it was, without Lucho on the field.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like even though Evander's play a lot of games and the team maybe looks different without Evander, if he isn't offensively generating, it's not quite the same. I don't think that's unfair to say when you look at his goal contributions this season compared to total goal contributions on the year. But so, yeah, I think if the question is Evander a plug and play for a former like talisman player? Yeah, I think he's proven to be so. I don't think that's controversial for me to say.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to square in my mind, like the talent that we've seen on this team. And when you look at like the roster profiles across MLS, like it really does feel like nobody else is spending as much, or at least pulling, extra money from various sources into the roster that other teams aren't. And yeah, I mean, close with the supporter shield, but I just can't square the eye test and the results, or the eye test and the talent, or the eye test and the spend. Is this year more like 2023 or 2022? Is this like the year before the year where I should be more excited about Denkay's second season in the league and Evander's second season in Cincinnati, and maybe hopefully Brenner's back full time? I don't know.
I don't know where to put that in the 22-23 matrix, because it's frankly just not. It's not similar. Like I think there's like 22 was obviously like the upward march makes it feel more validating based on than the actual point number, I guess.
Yeah.
23, you win the Supporter Shield, and that's a team that returns a lot of different pieces to it compared to a team with a starting 11 who returns very few from last season. I'm not quite sure where to put it in that matrix. I find, I mean, the difference between a Supporter Shield this year and not a Supporter Shield this year are like two games, which is why the Supporter Shield is so hard to win. That's not like, you know, but it's also like, look at how many other teams were to that. Like, it's not like there's this like chasm of Philly and FC Cincinnati and then like everyone else.
Yeah.
Like everyone was very close to it. So it was obviously a very competitive year. Whereas in the future, it might not be that competitive. It might be one team runs. I mean, like, what was it when we won it? It was like 4 games to go still. So like, It was a bit of a runaway by comparative numbers. I'm not quite sure where to put it in that metrics. In that kind of space. Do I think this team might be better next year with a different, with another preseason, with more time together, I don't know, but I think again, like it's impossible to say. Like every offseason is going to bring change. Every team is going to be different. Every grouping is going to have different positives and negatives. Like the salary cap makes it so as such that keeping the same group together over multiple years is either you have to be extraordinarily home built, or uniquely built, set up in that structure. So like, I'm really not sure.
Just very cheap and bad.
Yeah, well, that too. Like, it could just be really bad, and like you don't have any good players to hold on to. Like that could be true.
Consistency can go both ways. In this, you can be consistently bad as well.
But yeah, but like I kind of see it as like, I think part of the reason why the eye test that you're talking about is hard to square is that this team has expectations, is that this team is expected to be something. And, you know, listen, like, I'm not going to be the person to, like, that's going to be different for everybody. Like, everyone's going to have a different version of what those expectations are, or what passes your expectations. I think if you listen to Pat Noonan every night, I think he's probably not satisfied with where the team is at. What does that mean for him or for the team or for your expectations? Really nothing. Like, you have to, like, every individual gets to decide what their expectations are. But like, when you compare them to, like, I try and watch a lot of, like, any other MLS game I can, I try and watch because I think it gives me good perspective that, like, this team doesn't look like any other team. This team doesn't look like it plays differently. It's better than most teams they play on a consistent basis. Or most games I watch on a consistent basis, maybe so that they're unique. I don't know. But what I do notice is that a lot of teams who don't look like that, when they come to FC Cincinnati, they play the same way. Like there are very few teams that come to play FC Cincinnati and don't try and do a high press. So it ends up looking like you're playing the same thing every week very often, which is what I notice. The only teams who don't are like Nashville, Chicago, and Miami.
Yeah.
And because they're more comfortable with like Miami's, particularly in the 4-4-2, like they're very comfortable in that, which gives space out wide for the wingers. And so it ends up looking like a very different game. But when Philly comes to town, when Red Bull comes to town, when Charlotte, when, you know, it always ends up looking the same. And I don't think it always looks the same when they play other teams. I don't know what that means, but it's just one man's, you know, this is what I think. I don't know how grounded in anything that is. But so I really don't know how to square the circle you're looking at, which is like the eye test versus quality. Cause like a lot of points, a lot of wins, like more often than not, they're winning. But you're right. Like, I do think that it for me, and I don't know about the rest of us in the press corps, you sit down after a post-game press conference and you hear a lot of the same things. Now that could be Pat having a thing he wants to say, a methodology of being a head coach at a press conference. Right. But it also could be he sees the same things we are, or he sees the same thing repeatedly. Right. I don't know, but it's a hard circle to square. I don't deny it.
So maybe a better way of asking this is that, as we sit here, like I said, at the end of the season, what has been the most surprising aspect of FC Cincinnati this year for you that maybe you didn't anticipate when the season started?
This is going to sound silly, but the home away record, I didn't think, I really thought last year was an anomaly, and that like part of the reason they struggled at home was a little bit of that late season tumble they had. So the record wasn't as consistent, which played into like a lot of the problems towards the end of the year. And that, like, I think if you told me that this team was in the Shield race and won 11 games on the road, they would have won the Shield by 8 points, right? Like 11 road games is pretty significant. Like I back-to-back years. It's like the first team in MLS history to do that in back-to-back years. And so I'm a little surprised by the struggle to get points at home. I don't have a reason for it, but that is probably the thing I'm most surprised by. Is that I think an element of it is I I expected another thing I was probably surprised by is that the amount of variance on the roster. I think that's probably credit to Chris, but like I expected a little bit more stability, especially like once camp broke. Like I think we all kind of saw in preseason, like whatever was happening, like Lucho had said what he had to say. It felt like there was change coming in that direction. There was the roster changes that were happening. But once the camp broke, it kind of felt like they didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room, and they ended up creating a lot of wiggle room. So I think one element of it is like, what does introducing 13 or 14 new guy or to a team do to your roster? I don't know. Maybe it's this, but it's certainly a place I didn't expect.
Yeah. It
2-1 Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'm watching it too.
Yeah, we are
huge.
We're watching America's team, the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep.
Making sure that they're staying on track there.
I mean, they are America's team. It's any team playing the New York Yankees immediately America's team. Let's be real here.
Carter, maybe an idea you could float to Pat Noonan is maybe the team needs to stay in a hotel before home games. That like maybe it's the camaraderie. Everybody going out and getting coffees in the morning together, the routine, everybody driving in from home. That is the commute killing this team. Are the fans to blame? Are FC Cincinnati fans not booing enough? Like, should they act like an away fan base?
Is it like a Baker Mayfield thing where you got to talk some smack to them in order to get them fired up enough to play? Like, is that what we're doing here?
Should we all turn around?
I don't know how to, like, I don't think this is in like a vacuum, but I do wonder sometimes about like, does being in enemy territory like ramp up the energy on the team in a way that's like hard to replicate in your own home? Like it's hard to come into your own building, you hear your name booed, like it's as supportive as a home environment TQL Stadium can be. Like, is it just like some dude from New Jersey hollering at you about how much they hate you? Like, does that just like, or like a Vander going nuclear in Portland after hearing what like the chants that were coming his way? Like, is it just like, is it everyone's built a little bit differently? Maybe they need to kind of be like, talk down to a little bit.
Move the away section down to the tunnel club when they walk out, just so that the last thing that they hear is the away fans giving the business.
And I don't know. That's silly, but like it is like everyone takes feedback differently, I guess. Like some people need to be bullied before they can be. I don't know, but it is something I think I thought about over the last 2 years. That like, gosh, maybe. How do you make TQL Stadium more vitriolic to the home side? Maybe that's the way to fix this.
Yeah.
And then like they were the away team when they beat Monterey in Leagues Cup, and then it worked. And it was like, I was like, I don't know. Maybe you just need to like, we were looking this up recently because of the Canvas kit, but like, I think the record in the Canvas kit was like 24-8-3 or something.
Wow.
Have we thought about wearing the road jersey at home? I think we can elect to do that, right?
I think we might. Don't we usually wear the outgoing kit on decision day? Isn't that what it was the last couple of times?
It would make sense.
I think so. So I'm not. I don't know what they'll wear on decision day, but maybe
so if they win, we gotta wear that during the playoffs at home. Like that's got to keep going.
God, retail sales would die for that. They would just be punching themselves in the mouth.
No, you got to clear out all the old inventory. They'll love it.
Yeah. The rally kits now. Okay, that's how this works.
It's the rally kit. Yes, exactly.
I do like that it's not the quest for home field advantage in the playoffs. It's the quest for determining which kit we get to wear.
You get to wear. Yeah, that's fine.
That's what we're actually worried about. Carter, you mentioned watching some other teams, and I thought this is a much better question and point before Thomas Muller went to Vancouver. But the two best seasons, as I see it, I'll set aside San Diego to make my point here. Are Vancouver and Philadelphia, and they are teams that were sort of defined by not having star players or, head and shoulders above the rest of the roster DPs. And even in Ryan Gauld that they had
was injured,
not available all season. What do you make of those two teams doing it that way versus how Cincinnati is doing it? Like, Philadelphia is going to win the Supporter Shield. They may very well be favorites for MLS Cup.
Sure.
And probably won't have a candidate for Rookie of the Year, Defender of the Year, MVP. Maybe Bradley Carnell gets some Coach of the Year votes, but it doesn't feel like he's a front runner.
Hard not to vote for Carnell at this point.
Okay.
What's his name out in Vancouver is obviously the other Sorensen. Yeah. And then probably Mikey.
Yeah.
Vargas. Yeah. I would and probably feel like the three people who get named finalists by the time it's over. Philly feels like a team who, credit to them. Like, it's hard not to say that they've had an amazing year, given like they moved on from some of their best players, and they have a new coach, and they have a lot of young guys playing. So it's hard. It's like there's nothing to knock for their success this year. Like, I think they've had a repeatable and reliable model take them a very long way. I think the I don't want to call it like energy drink soccer, but like the Red Bull style is something that has been successful in the past and repeatably successful to its own extent. Notably, the Red Bulls have never won an MLS Cup, got close last year, so fair enough. But in regular season, that is a very repeatable over the course of regular season pathway to success, regardless of who you have on your team. And then they have players who are very good. They do have like collections of it's hard not to say Ty Baribo is not a good player. Is he an MVP candidate? No, but he's great. It's kind of the same way thing out in Vancouver with like Brian White. Like we might not have thought of Brian White as a star player. He very clearly is one. Like they have done something with that. The one like kind of handicap I'll put on the Vancouver season is they play in the West. Hard not to take notice of that they do play in the West, which has been for the most part, less competitive conference than the East, top to bottom this year. Now, that being said, like the East also has teams like Toronto and Montreal and teams at the bottom, and the West does have St. Louis and LA Galaxy and like it's not like those like either conference is so radically. But I do think the stronger conference has been the East, and so that is something I'll say in the Supporter Shield, which plays an unbalanced schedule. Hard not to factor in. I think part of it has been, Vancouver. I don't even know how to square the circle of Vancouver. They just played really good ball. I don't know what to say about them besides like they've been playing really well. They're under a coach who's been able to institute a style that clearly works for them very quickly. In the same way that Philly did. They had a coach who matched up with whatever they wanted to do, and was able to very quickly install it at their new place. Good for them. I that's the best I got, I guess, is good for them. And they had coaches that were very able to come in very quickly and easily install systems that made sense for their teams.
Yeah. Chief brought up this point on the last episode, and then Bomani Jones, of all people, made a comparison that made something click for me here. Oh. Is energy drink soccer the granny style free throw of MLS, which is to say it is statistically going to get you better results, but you are a coward if you do it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a coward for doing it, because like what's energy drink soccer? Like high press, like chaotic,
try hard,
like aggressive, like trying hard, aggressive play. Like, I don't know. Like, I think it's probably more so less cowardly to do it, and more so like this might be a reference for only a few people, but like the 4-2-3-1 of Football Manager 24 of like that. It's the game doesn't work unless you play that structure. Like it's if you pressure through the middle, the match engine in Football Manager 24 breaks. And so you have to play it that way. And so I think when you're playing, probably, I guess like what I would say is that like in Major League Soccer, when you're playing a variety of teams at a variety of different cap spends in a variety of different times in the season, where international windows and double match weeks and multiple tournaments factor in a way that you can't account for simply by like bringing in more players. Having that system is going to more often than not roll your way. And so I think that's probably what I would say. More often than not is probably. I think part of this, the thing is, like, we saw St. Louis do it a couple years ago. Red Bulls have never won an MLS Cup. We'll see with Philly. Like, I think it's probably the issue is that, like, does it have that same kind of MLS Cup or that same kind of like knockout tournament success? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Because I have this thought that I have this thought that at any time FC Cincinnati or any other team could just decide they wanted to play that way and just win. But it's kind of like I have this thought that maybe like in the coaching community, it's considered like there's certain bands that I like that want to evolve their styles as they go along. And at any point they could go back and make the same record they did 20 years ago, and it would be a banger. Right. But that's not interesting to them. It's kind of cliche to go backwards. You're just sort of going through the motions, and that like playing energy drink soccer in a certain way makes you less of a coach because well, I'm just doing this the easy way. It's the I had ChatGPT write my homework for me of soccer play styles. And
it's Taylor Swift re-releasing 1989 in red as Taylor's versions. They work. They're great albums, but they're not new music.
Right. She could have just gone and she could have just, gone back on having another country phase and everyone would have eaten it up.
Yeah.
But instead she's like, I'm going to sing about, Travis's schlong and like, I'm going to do my own thing right here.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's that easy. Like, another team, I think, for example, no one ever says they play it this way, but every time I watch them, I'm like, that's what that looks like to me is Orlando.
Yeah.
Like every time they play, every time I watch them play, it's like, this is the Red Bulls. This is like Central Florida Red Bulls. Yeah. Like and I say Red Bull because like a lot of different teams play this way.
It's Monster Energy drink soccer as opposed to Red Bull.
Right. Like it's no one ever claims, but it's like, this is very similar. And so you start looking around the league, it's like, seems like a lot of teams are doing this because that's the model that makes sense. And it's kind of like this, the money ball, the zigzag, like find the market inefficiency, right? Like what can we do to compete with the teams who can't compete? I don't know.
It is funny that the real outlier here is DC United, who tried to do this and just failed spectacularly. Also, I think we should all be good corporate stewards here and refer to it as Celsius Soccer, because that is the
official partner.
The official partner.
Yeah.
You would have thought Red Bull would have done it, but I guess they feel like they get enough by having the team name in there.
They got a lot of market activation points.
The Q score is already high enough.
Yeah.
So that's actually a funny question. So we talk about energy drink soccer. What would FC Cincinnati brand soccer be? How would you describe FC Cincinnati brand?
And attach a corporate partner to it. Thank you.
Yeah. Attach a corner for, oh God, our partnerships team is going to be so upset about this if I pick the wrong place.
Let's see who has the highest spend this year. There we go.
It's the Klosterman's Bakery.
Nice.
No, I think FC Cincinnati is like, well, what do they want it to be versus what it is? Like, I think gosh, that's such a good question. Like, what is, like, how would you characterize it in a specific, in like a short ball? Like, it's probably some version of like, smart. Like, I think what they're striving for is like thoughtful. I don't want to use the word patient. I don't want to use the word Pat decision oriented. I think what they want to play is like defensively sound, but understanding where they can find their edges.
Yeah.
Soccer. Like, I think what they want to be doing is knowing, hey, we're better than most of the teams we're going to play. And if we can, and all we need to do is pick our spots and know we are going to beat you if we exploit this part of your game or that part of your game or this part of your game. And if we just do that, you can't beat us. And I don't know how to what the label on that is, like what the right sponsor is, like CTI, it's presented by it's like
Better Help, be mindful, be patient.
Game Theory Soccer presented by like EY.
I like that.
That might not be fair, but my sister-in-law works for EY, so
I was gonna say, calling it like consultant ball does feel like an insult. So.
It does, but it's like not play. It's, I don't know. It's just, I think, I don't know. Holy Sound by Kosterman Bakery. It's just a good loaf of bread. Like
it's warm. It's familiar.
This is really bad
answer. Gets the job done.
I'm gonna like go
spongy through the middle.
I am gonna like go home or go. I'm gonna like log off of this whenever, and I'm gonna like go upstairs, and I'm gonna be sitting in bed, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that's the right answer. Or I'm going to think about this and I'll like send a voice memo to Kevin and be like, put this into the show instead of whatever it is.
Now you got to do like a corporate starting 11 where you got like, all right, so Skyline's going to be our attacking midfielder. And
right,
TQL
exactly.
is going to be the box-to-box shuttler.
So you brought it up there. You didn't want to use the word. You have covered Pat Noonan in all of his press conferences since you have arrived here in Cincinnati. You've been there all year this year for the press conferences as well.
Yep.
What does he mean by patient?
Okay, so this is a thing I've been trying really hard to convey better in my writing, because I think I think at first it was one of those things like patience was the thing I wasn't soccer intelligent enough to fully grasp. And it was like, my idea of patience was like, be patient at the plate in baseball, like wait for your pitch, like wait for the 2-0 fastball, like sit on a change up in a 3-1 count, like sit on only your pitch. And that's not, I think like patient is the word he uses when he means tactful or recognizing the moments that are like the right opportunities. And I think there was a great example of this in this Red Bull game that we just saw, where Red Bull it was after the first goal that Kevin had scored, which by the way, great goal. And I asked,
yes,
goal of the week. And what I think was more impressive than the goal of the week, than the shot, was the touch he takes to get around the defender. And I asked Pat about it, and like that's, I think, one of the things that he's looking for is knowing the moment when to play that to his foot and to run around, and when to play it back to his defense and to get reset. That's an example of patience, is like understanding when to receive the ball as in hold up play and run versus give it back to Pavel and play your marks. So that's one example.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. It is the AT&T goal of the match day.
Goal of the match day. Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Corporate sponsor. I was so worried about that.
Corporate Synergy Carter.
There we go.
And so that's one moment, but there's a better moment after that goal where Red Bull is kind of putting the pressure on. They've got, they're playing basically everyone forward. They're having a good moment of pressure, and FC Cincinnati does regain possession and then immediately kicks it long to Ender for him to run onto it. But he isn't able to receive or like catch up, and the Red Bull defender beats him to it. And all of a sudden they're back on it's the same thing. They're back on defense. You've got 11 guys behind the ball. They can't play out. It's the same thing happening over and over again. And on the one hand, you're thinking, okay, what does patience mean? Well, patience is certainly not like holding the ball up if Ender Echenike can run forward, right? Like he's the fastest guy on the team, like, or one of the fastest guys on the team. You want to give him opportunities to break out up the wing. But patience can also mean understanding that, like, hey, we need to take 5 seconds here, because if we don't get reset, they're going to be back down our throat again. They're going to be on top of us again. And we need to be smarter about, like, is the Ender option the best option to go long versus let's have Evander bring it up, hold it for 5 seconds. Let's get Evander and Lucas Engel going up the wing. Let's get our center backs back into the correct position, because sometimes when those moments happen, you've now got Miles on the left and someone playing in center back who isn't supposed to be there. And so that if you do turn the ball over, they're not running back at you in a disorganized way, because now you have control of the game. You've won the ball back. You've successfully defended your box. you have control of the game. Let's not just give them the ball right back. And I've realized that in going back and watching a handful of games, there are a lot of moments where they successfully defend their own box and then just hand the ball back over because they're not, because and Pat said it before, and this is where I'm kind of putting together like multiple different press conferences, that like sometimes it's 5 seconds, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's a minute of just passing it around the back. And I think in fairness to like what this team has done, sometimes the decision-making or the patience is, okay, we've gone our minute now. We need to move forward. That's also part of what decision-making looks like. We've now swung it around the back 9 or 10 times. Right. We're set. Like we can make a play. But there are a lot of times where it's like Evander gets the ball, four attackers go running. You can only play one ball to them. Ball gets turned over. You're now defending. They haven't even lost their field position, I guess is what I'd call it here. But they've also now had, Luka, Kevin, Evander, Ender, Brenner, and you're now got 5 guys forward. You haven't even won possession. You basically haven't won possession yet. And so I think that's just one example. But the more I look for it is like, I think those are the moments where they're trying to figure out patience and decision-making. And it's not about like playing slow or methodical. It's about like recognizing moments to like, now's the moment to go. Now's the moment to wait. Here's when we get set. And I think they're struggling to find the right mix of those two things. And I think that's why even on nights where, the offense is clearly the thing clicking, it's clearly the thing going forward, Pat's frustrated with the offense. Pat's frustrated. And then when it's the other way, when they're not attacking at all, when they're very conservative, Pat's frustrated because it's about finding the middle ground of what does like 52.5% possession look like? What does I don't know if that's the right metric to look for. That's probably wrong. I'm sure if it's the wrong way to think about it, I'll hear about it when I go to the office eventually. But like it is that is, I think, kind of the balance that they're trying to strike of like, we can't have on a dime 5 guys go forward and none of them come back.
Right.
Or be in a position where we can't have any of them come back because they're already on top of us with 11. Or 9 or whatever odd man matchup you want to have. And so I think that's kind of where I'm finding the patience conversation. He says it a lot, patience, decision making. I think we talked about it earlier in this episode. There are a lot of times where it's guys calling their own number or not calling their own number or thinking it's me time and it's not me time. Like I think that's part of this conversation of what patience and decision making look like. I think when Pat says patience, he also means it the other way. Let's go. Let's turn it up. Now is the time to strike because we have set up the advantage. No, why are you holding back? It's just, it doesn't always convey in the way he kind of simplifies it down to this way. But I think after hearing it for
3
how many games
years
have we played? Well, no, this feels uniquely set to this year in terms of decision making, in terms of patience, like that phrase being used. Because I think like part of the game plan in previous years was like Lucho is going to do Lucho. But
Lucho's going to dictate when to go and when not. So what is patience? Patience is just what's Lucho feeling right now?
But you can like buy into that as like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Like, this is what we're going to build around. Evander isn't, we talked about is Evander a plug and play? He is obviously a plug and play in terms of quality. He doesn't play the game the same way. And so it takes a little bit different. Like Evander is not going to little trick his way all the way through the field. It takes a different kind of connective tissue to get it up the field. And I think, we talk, let's tie in all these questions back together. It's like we talk about, is this the next year? Is this this year? It might just mean that like they need a full preseason to get Evander understanding Pat's tempo. What's the whiplash? Not my tempo. Not my tempo. Let's find my tempo. And so that
I'm not sure the lesson of whiplash was
that one.
This is the correct way to instruct somebody.
No, I don't think.
And the way you describe it, I'm sorry, it just makes it I can't get my head off. The coaches are not figuring out how to give the right instruction to the players, because with the Denke goal against Red Bulls, like it was great that he recognized in that moment to take a touch, go by himself, and score the goal of the week. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome that he recognized that he was going to score the goal from 40 yards out.
Well, so for whatever, and the shot might not be the thing that Pat is like, I didn't specifically ask about the shot. Like there's Ender is right there on the run,
Right.
For a pass for a tap in inside the box, right? Like I think there is like I think when I asked him about it specifically, I was like, that hold up play, is that something you're looking as like a key for goals in the future? And that was what he was answering. You're absolutely right. Like you can't replicate goal of the week. Or maybe this team can. I agree.
Is that a button on Football Manager as well? Like hit the goal of the week button right there.
If he plays the ball to Ender, the game probably ends up 0-0.
It might,
because while the pass to Ender is probably like, statistically like the greater, the smarter play or whatever. We have the benefit of hindsight, and we know that Dinke converted the very low XG chance, right?
100%.
And the pass to Ender would not have been like an 80% chance of scoring a goal or anything like that, right?
100%.
And I this whole discussion reminded me of something that Matt Doyle wrote in his midweek mailbag, where he suggested a trade of Dado Valenzuela to Philly.
When was this?
Today.
That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay.
And
I'm gonna go read that.
And he said about Dado, he said he's not a visionary chance creator. That's why he hasn't really broken through for Cincinnati. But he's got a great engine, and the way he creates chances via pass and move combo play around the box kind of lines up with Philly's game model. And then he says, think about it. Dado's at his best in tight spaces when the game's frenetic, and Philadelphia are not about making the perfect decision with each touch. They're about making a good decision quickly and immediately transitioning into the next phase. And then, so reading that, I do wonder if like, if all this emphasis on like patience and like decision making, right?
Sure.
If it's like expecting it, the way that I've received it all year is we expect the players to make the exact right decision all the time in the attacking phase, and they don't necessarily. And I've wondered, and this goes back multiple seasons with this coaching staff, because it has felt like the plan is like have the players like create magic, have the players make like very precise passes in very tight spaces, and make like beautiful quick sequences to find an opportunity to like score a goal. And I've just always wondered, even before this year, if it wouldn't be better to just like, if we have kind of a basic understanding of like find space, play to space, like we see teams like Philly, like we see teams like Columbus do,
right? Where
they just know like, oh, if I play the ball to space, my teammates understand that they should be also going to that space, and they'll be there, and we'll get the defense out of position. Versus like what you're describing, which I agree is what the team seems to want to do, is say like, oh, if I wait 5 seconds or 15 seconds or a minute or whatever
it is, and
we make however many passes, eventually we'll find some space and we'll make the perfect shot or whatever. And then the way and we ruin it the way we want to play by making that forced pass,
Sure.
Because we want to make the perfect play. And then it's like we get impatient because our knocking the ball around hasn't created an opportunity. So somebody says, well, I'm going to try something fun, that's low percentage, and it doesn't come off. And yeah, we do have like 5-6 guys already ahead, and the other team has a transition opportunity, versus instead of saying like, oh, I'm expecting our attackers to know the exact right thing to do every time. Just say, yeah, like there's going to be spaces, find the space, knock it into it, knock it into the space. And then if you see like the right perfect thing in that moment, do it. Otherwise, just knock it into another space and, make the defense chase.
Sure. I think I don't necessarily disagree with anything you said. I think that it's probably the wrong characterization to say that this coaching staff is looking for the perfect pass or the perfect moment. I think they're more so looking for guys to have a sense of the right or the most correct they can, which is probably a distinction without a difference. If I'm being honest, like I'll agree to that. I also do think that like if this is the way they want to play and this is how they want to look, it is on the coaching staff to have them play. And if this is what their expectations are, like it becomes a certain point where it's like, you can't play for the players. They're like, it's not a video game. You're not joystick controlling them. But at some point, you've had enough time with them that they should have a better understanding of what you're doing. Don't disagree. I will say that like this is the winningest team in MLS history over a 3-year stretch. It's like the weird ultimate trump card of like you can win good or you can win ugly. And this team has been both good and ugly at times. And so I'm hard pressed to like critique too heavily what they're doing because frankly, it's been successful and it hasn't looked like the other teams have looked like like we were just talking earlier about like, is the Red Bull style, like you can always go back and play the hits, right? You can always go back and do that thing, but they've done it this way for the most part for 3 years. And it's been the winningest team in a 3-year regular season stretch of MLS history. So
there's a This American Life.
It's a kind of a phony out of like, should this team look better than they are? Well, they've won, right? Like, because like, I think what you're trying to suggest is that like, they should win and look better. They should win dominantly. They should win more. And I'm hard pressed to disagree that I would prefer that.
Are you sure on that point?
There's a This American Life where they like try to chase down whether calamari is actually pork bung.
Yes.
When it's sold in certain markets and stuff.
My favorite episode.
Because they keep talking to this guy who works in this factory or in a factory. And he keeps saying like, they said it's bung. I saw the box. It says bung. And they talk to like a oceanographer, I think, or they talk to a marine biologist, right? Who says that like, oh, it's not, it's real calamari. It's not bung. And the guy in the factory says, well, you can be a marine biologist all you want. That is bung. Right? And I will say like, you can win the most regular season games over 3 years, all you want. But when Columbus comes here in the Eastern Conference Finals, you are bung. Like when you play New York NYCFC in the first round of the playoffs and you don't score any goals.
Yep.
You are bung. Like it's I
love how Grayson is already pre-mad about things that haven't happened yet, which is always
these are things that happened.
Like
not to this team. This team is completely different this year.
That's true.
But if Philadelphia loses in the playoffs,
when you play Tigres or you play Juarez or whatever, you play Philly twice this year.
Sure,
right?
But what if Philly loses in the first round of the playoffs to say Orlando or Chicago?
Yeah, I think it's great that the teams we can't beat, let's just hope they lose.
No, but I'm just saying I don't think that necessarily you would then say, well, then we don't want to play that way. Right? Like you wouldn't, if Philly got knocked out in the first round, you wouldn't say, well, the Philly game model is broken and does not work and we cannot do it. That's just like, there's too much. What I'm trying to argue is
if Philly gets knocked out in the first round and we end up winning MLS Cup, never playing Philly, never playing Charlotte, never playing Columbus. I'm not going to
work for the Red Bulls last year.
I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize about it.
What I really tried to get at is I think there may be an overemphasis on the playoffs, that the weight of the playoffs, which are inherently random.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess the big Grayson, hold on, Grayson. I think the big question here, though, and I gotta know the answer to this is: at the end of the day, should fans care about style points?
I don't know. Like I don't. Like I really don't have an answer because like I can tell you that win, lose, or draw, no matter how good the team looked, the flight back from wherever is a lot more fun when they won. Right? Like, or the locker room post is like, whether they looked like crap or they looked awesome and they looked like crap and won, or it's a lot more fun after the win. Even if the team, for this team specifically, I think there are certain like teams in MLS where you're probably like, man, we lost, but we look great. And it's like, that's like a progressive part of your season. Like this team is win. Like this team is like, I think if this team was 30 points worse, but they looked awesome, no one would be happy. Or 30 points, that's a lot. Like 15, 20.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like if they're Chicago this year, and Chicago has had nights where they look awesome. They're 10 points short of FC Cincinnati, and they're fighting for they're gonna have to play a play-in game. Is that better because they've had more fun?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if whether you should be excited by style points or fans should be excited by style points. The game stories are a lot easier to write after wins, whether they look bad or not. So for me, I tend to care less about style points and more so like outright wins. I think it's not unfair though for this. I see, like, here's where the thing I'm struggling with is like, I think it's not unfair for you to watch this team this year and think there is a lot of talent on this team. Should they be scoring more often? Or should they be getting more clean sheets? Or should they be doing this? Or should they be doing that? I think it's not unfair to ask the question of like, should they be doing that? I would like to see them do more of that. That's not unfair for any fan in any sport to be like, I'd rather my team do better always. I don't know whether that's the responsibility of the fan or whether that's something that they can choose to do. That's not my call. But I don't think it's unfair to want more out of this team.
Is it a
any team?
Yeah,
like generically.
I did not care about style points in 2023 because they finished top of the league.
Okay. I gotta go back and listen to the podcast episodes of whether you thought that the whole way.
I don't think I did care about style points in 2023.
But so like this team, in fairness, has been top of the league the last two seasons, and it's been a dialogue. It's been a talking point across the FC Cincinnati,
sphere
ecosystem of should they look better while doing it.
But I think it's fair to say, okay, this team they've missed out on 3 trophies to date, right?
This year.
Yeah, sure. This year.
Yeah.
Because, we've talked about all the turnover and it being a different team and all
Champions,
that. So it's not really fair to give this team credit for prior season stuff.
Sure.
If we're not going to, if we're also going to say it's a new team.
Mm-hmm.
So the team got pretty close to the Shield. You look across the season, like
closer than any other team thus far.
It doesn't take a lot of results to flip for the team to either be still in it or have already won it.
Literally won.
Yeah, just beating Philly.
That's very hard for me to separate the team's season results from its lack of style points this year.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
right. That they haven't played consistently.
It's been our consistent content for the last like 2 or 3 months. So I give it that.
and so like
the Street Side sponsorship loves it.
Yeah.
if the team has played just a little better, they would have the Shield.
Yeah, I think like and you can do this with any season, but this season in particular, like there are losses on the calendar this year that are just devastating. That like you look back, it's like DC, Atlanta.
I think this season Dallas, uniquely though, it's not just going back and saying this result could be flipped, right? It's like
there's a bad week.
Our XG plus minus. We are Montreal.
Yeah,
we are Montreal. Yeah, we're not just like not quite at our standing. We are near spoon level. So when it comes down to that number, and just like being average at that number, like we're setting the point record.
So XG specifically, and we can talk about did I see someone? Was it the post tweeted that you guys tweeted like? What's the drinking game? It's like every time you bring up XG, you take a shot. It's like so like I feel like I'm about to engage in this is like XG is a thing that I can't like quite figure out myself because like I think it was the Orlando game that I was watching and I realized that MLSsoccer.com is counting XG for every block shot. And like through the first like 65 minutes, I think Evan made like a save. like credit, like he made a big save, but they had generated like 2.3 xg on like
well, it's
like
a pre-shot. XG. It's a pre-shot measure,
right? And so like I'm kind of like, would you be happier if FC Cincinnati played the way they do and had a higher xg total because they just took more shots that got blocked? Like, would that make you happier just by having a volume? I'm not like trying to be. I'm trying to point out the problem. I'm trying to point out the problem with xg, right? Like,
we don't have to figure out xg, but 8 of the 9 playoff teams have figured out xg.
Well, like yeah, like fair,
we're the only one.
Fair, like, but I would say 8. Like, we are above. What would be 7 of the 9 teams in the table?
That's all.
Like,
that's fair.
And like it was like if a block shot can't go in, like it can't go like, but an Evander free kick can, and like that's a he hasn't actually scored a free kick in a while, which I've been thinking of a little bit.
Yeah.
But like it's like, so XG is the kind of part of this conversation that like I don't want to sound like the guy like pre Oakland A's 2001 who's just like on base percentage. Like, what are you talking about? He doesn't have good pants.
He gets
like,
on base.
Like
his girlfriend's ugly. I
don't want to be anti like analytics or stats, but it's like the joke I've heard about XG. Actually, it was about expected batting average when I was covering baseball. Was expected by who? Like, like who expects it? Like, who is expecting that? And so it kind of leaves it up to like the decider of who is putting together the stats. Like, who is the person who is like labeling each thing, or like what's the algorithm? Like, what's it looking for? And so until I'm not trying to dismiss XG at all, because I do think that like you're absolutely right. Like this team is not. What's the goal differential on this team? It's the lowest of almost all of the Eastern Conference play-in teams. I think only Charlotte has a lower one. Maybe New York. I can't remember. I don't know what their most recent results.
Columbus too, I believe.
Right.
Columbus is above us, I think, but very close to us.
It's whatever it is. Like it's like the FC Cincinnati have a very low goals for number and a low XG. Clearly that has some degree of correlation. So I'm not like trying to outright deny it. I do think, and it's like, listen, I'm not going to sit here and defend like, yes, this offense has been like absolutely lights out, gangbusters. It's been the best. I don't disagree with that at all. I am kind of like,
Columbus is below. Columbus is way dropped. I'm sorry. Columbus is down to they're down to +2.
Oh,
Grayson and Chief haven't believed me, but Columbus Crew for the last month has been essentially a spoon-winning team.
They've
also had Rossi
and
that's still what that team is. I don't know what to tell you.
I've heard many people saying that those players don't even want to play for that team anymore just because it's such a poor franchise. But continue. Sorry, I didn't want to. Just the streets are saying.
Are they holding anybody back from their dreams in Europe yet?
I think that they're all being
holding back. They're holding back Arfston.
Yeah, that's it. Arfston was being held back.
They let his name go in the midfield to Middlesbrough, and then they let they regretted that ever since. No, I'm not trying to be like combative, but it is like if I don't know, like is XG, if you manufacture XG by just taking like a high volume of shots just to say you did, is that better? Like, I actually am not saying I know. I'm saying it's like
right.
You can just kind of game it that way and it'd be like, well, it breaks. And so I'm not quite sure I like it, but I don't disagree that there is a definite negative correlation to this team's offensive output to its, like the games they lose this season are because they can't score.
Right.
Or like 1-0, 2-1.
And we have the
1-1,
fewest,
right? Like
we are tied with NYCFC for the fewest goals actually scored. Not expected scored. Actually scored of anybody in the playoffs.
I think there is a direct correlation. Like it's undeniable that there's a direct correlation between this team's ability to like reach its highest potential and its ability to score goals.
Yeah.
But also isn't that like the most tantalizing? Isn't that the most tantalizing aspect of it though? It's just
it's so sweet, isn't it?
But that's also like why, like when you look at it, it's like, yeah, this team could win MLS Cup because it does feel, and I know this was like a running joke in the national media, like, oh, FC Cincinnati still haven't shifted into fourth gear yet. Like, it does feel like there's another gear there. We're just like, oh yeah, they have Brenner, Denke, Evander, Orishano, and Echenike can run laps around people. Mm-hmm. It does feel like at any moment it could just explode outward. Like, I don't know. And maybe that's just copium. Maybe that's fan nonsense. But there's so much talent. It's like, just go score goals. Just go do it.
Like Portland is a good example of like this team, like figuring out, like, even if it's only for a half, like they are explosive. It exists. Like they can go out and put 3 on you in 33 minutes. Like
Can't put 4.
I didn't say 4.
They can give up 4.
They can give up 4. But like, you know, it can happen. And so I think like in a playoff series, oh God, I hate the playoff series because this actually ruins my whole argument of like a one game where everything tightens up, everything. Like, which team would you like better? The team who's more defensively sound, or the team who and only needs like a couple of moments of brilliance to win you a game, or the team who needs like a large sample size of a season to generate as many possible options as they can? I'm not sure that's an argument I'm yet subscribed to, but it's something I'm definitely thought of.
Yeah. What I'd be interested in is like XG historically is broken by more talented players. Like Messi and Ronaldo at different points in their career were way outscoring their XG because they're better players. So they make
I think
shots.
Harry Kane has been way beyond his XG.
Like they make shots that other people don't.
He also takes a million penalties.
Yeah. But that also like, that's what makes them good players is that they score goals other people don't. Is there a degree to which like just having a more talented team is necessarily going to create this issue? But then maybe more, I think important or interesting would be, I would love to know from the coaching staff what single stat or cluster of stats they look at as a measure of success. And if it's points, if it's wins, so be it. But I'd be curious to know if it's passes into the opponent's box. Is it, field tilt? Is it, what are they looking at on average to determine whether or not this was a
It would be awesome if it was just like player heart rate from like the sports bra they all wear. And they're just looking at everybody over 130 beats per minute.
It's just ground covered by Pavel Bucha.
Yeah, actually.
Blood pressure.
What I would love is to find whatever the metric is, and I want to chart it against like points acquired in any given game. I want to see like, is it touches Evander has? Is it touches Evander has in the opponent third? Like, I don't know what it is, but I would love to know.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for like what that could possibly be. I just like they so rarely talk about like statistics as a way that they like track data. I know they use data and I know they like are very, but they just never talk. The players never talk about it in that way. And so I do think I like the idea of it being like Dom Kinnear's like heart rate, like blood pressure or heart rate as a specific measurement of like, are we good? Like, what do you think? We good?
Yeah.
It'd be kind of funny.
You know where my head went was
Blue Jays up 4-1, by the way.
Yeah.
Tremendous news.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Top of the 7th. We got the bullpen game going.
The old joke was who's the only coach that could keep Michael Jordan under 20 points a game?
Phil Jackson.
No, Dean Smith.
Oh yeah, Dean. Yeah. Fair. Okay. Yeah.
And won a championship.
Yeah.
Won an Olympic gold medal.
Won a few.
Yeah.
That Dean guy.
But the XG question, just to go back to like an exact moment, is in that Red Bull game when Denke takes the shot. If you're looking at this as a purely XG experiment, and Grayson, I think you even said that you would have expected the pass to Echenike to not result in a goal. I think if you're only viewing this team in the expected goal table, even with hindsight, you have to say he has to pass it because generating the XG is the more repeatable, process to scoring. And so therefore you are genuinely telling the team, the fan base, that you will sacrifice results for the process.
Would MLS be more successful if instead of going to PKs at the end of each first chart at the end of the first round, that they just went to XG and you got the extra point based on who had the better XG?
That's funny. I think I'd hate that. I think
just like you're just spamming kicks directly to guys blocking shots. Like
the last 10 minutes of the
final
games.
10 minutes, just putting balls into shins.
It's that, or it's just like dudes taking shots from like their own box, right? It's just like technically this counts.
Right.
Like,
each one of these 0.1 XG chances, if we take 10 of them, that equals up to a full XG. They don't have to be good.
Yeah.
And actually, you've now just invented volleyball. Actually, is what ultimately happens here.
So to ask an actual fun question here, we have brought in a bunch of young kids, U22s. It's the first time in the club history we have 4 U22s. If you had to pick one that's going to be a difference maker in the playoffs, who's it going to be?
Ooh, That's a good question.
It's two good questions in one interview. I'm on fire.
Yeah. I'll start saying that to other people just to make sure it's even. Can't be showing favoritism. It's probably Ender Echenike is the difference maker in the playoffs. And I say that because unless, I mean, I guess I don't know when Obi gets back, who takes that, like, who takes that spot in the midfield. Because, like, you know, could very well be Obi and then Sammy Gidi, who has been excellent so far, in my opinion. I think he's been a very intriguing piece to this team's future, you know, immediate, middle, long term. But Ender Echenike feels like the kind of player who can, like, break a game open for you in the moment that you need it. Yeah. He's another guy on the field, like the ones we've talked about, who can, like, in an instant provide something that wins you a game. And I guess the question is, like, does it go the other way as well with his defense, like losing you a game? To this point, I have not seen any evidence to suggest that his defense is going to lose you a game specifically. Could it in, like, a moment? We've seen better players, you know, have more, you know, have worse moments, so to speak. But I think Ender is the kind of player who can kind of, like, break a game open for you. Whereas, like, Sammy, because I think it's down to those two, right? Like, I think Gilberto is a very interesting young center back still, who I think I am pleased by the fact that he is at the very least getting minutes and looking like the best player on the field for the second team. I think if he wasn't looking like the best player on the field at his kind of pedigree, I'd be very concerned. It's in the 3 FCC2 games I've watched where he's featured, he's very clearly the best center back playing. So that's good. But, like, it's probably, and then Mark Zook does not feel like he's going to have the same impact that a player like Ender will. Yeah. So it will be Ender's game, so to speak. But no, that's super unclever. Don't give me that.
No, that was fun. That was
but I think he is, and then but I do feel like Sammy has the potential to be the long-term most changing piece because of, like, the midfield depth and the importance of the midfield to the way this team plays, that, like, having another guy to play alongside Pavel and Obi and kind of, like, have that 3 and like Brian Anunga has been spectacular this season and has a role to play in this playoffs. Do not get me wrong. But I do think that, like, as a player for, like, next year and depending on this year, based on however Obi seems to factor in, it should be Ender who has the biggest impact, is my guess.
I think that makes sense. I would agree with everything you said. I would just add to it. I think Mark Zook is the most likely to assist a game winner in the playoffs because I think his crossing is so good. And if there is a game late that is tied, I think one of Jabari or Kai Kamara towering over the defense could get on the end of a Mark Zook cross. I don't know that we've seen exactly that happen, but that certainly feels like the plan, right? So
it's possible. Yeah.
No, Carter, you've been incredibly generous with your time. I have one last question for you. I don't know what others have here. You were just recently in New Jersey, not New York. Could you compare and contrast the new press digs to the old press digs?
Guys, it's devastating. It's guys, it's like it's like I was so heartbroken. I showed up and I knew it was going to be changed, and I walked out onto the field and I turned around and it's got, like, Heineken and the so and so family and like different sponsors on the placards. I'm just like, oh no, it's real. Like I didn't have a bump in my head. It's real. And then I turn around and I look up, and like in the back corner of, it's like if you're at the benches and you're looking at the field, it's like the back left corner of the stadium, and it's like the last 3 rows of seats, and it's just this gray, like, they're desks, like they're not like it's not like a box, it's just like outdoor. They've taken out the bleachers and they've put desks in with some, like, very uncomfortable chairs, and then they have one outlet for every 3 seats. And it was just like, and then I was like, oh my God, how do I get up there? And then I realized that the only way to get up there is to, like, walk through the concourse, like, and then up the stairs to the top of the building.
Like,
and
if you had a ticket. Yeah,
exactly. And which is like, you know, like, people do that every game and I have no problem with that. And then it's like, it got to like the 90 plus 3rd minute. I was going to realize, I was like, oh, we're going to have to, like, I'm going to have to pack up, get downstairs, somehow get to the field and then the locker room for the press conference and then to leave. And it was like, oh, I got to go right now. So like I'm watching the game in like the final few minutes, like basically in like the concourse of the first level. Cause I'm like, there's just no way I can get from the top to the bottom that as quickly as I need to. Right. But it was devastating. It was like truly heartbreaking that I was like, I went from like catching a ball in the round 1 MLS Cup playoffs and like getting yelled at by the Red Bull bench for not throwing the ball back to their guy quick enough to restart a play, and having someone threaten me. And I was like, I don't care, man. Like, I'm not letting your guy restart a play like that fast. Like, I'm not throwing you directly the ball. Like, what are you, out of your mind? Like, it's like the 93rd minute. Like, I'm not going to do that. To like sitting up literally, like I'm the first, like if it rains, I'll be the first to know. Like, it was pretty devastating. I was like, man, this used to be like the best box on the circuit. And now it's arguably the worst, but
it's tough scenes. Have you found since we last checked in, have you found a bar better than Duffy's to hang out in on any of these away trips?
Okay, so better no, funnier maybe. There's a spot in New York called McGee's. I think we've talked about this before. It's supposedly the inspiration for the show How I Met Your Mother. The pub they sit in, and it's not, for sure not, but they claim to be.
It's a hell of a marketing gimmick.
Like, so like you walk in, but so like it's a spot that's nearby the NYCFC hotel that has become a cult favorite. There is not one specific, like, so it's an unfair comparison. Like, I'm not going to include this because like St. Louis I'm more familiar with. So I'm excited for whatever road trip that is in the future. I'm hoping, because the last time this team went to St. Louis, I was covering the other beat, different kind of night. But
there was
I would
also
say
a tornado that night, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
And I had to like beg John Gasparoni, who's now the director of comms at Charlotte, to let me in the building, because I was like, I parked my car 30 minutes away. I'm not standing outside. No, he was like, all right, come here. And he let me in through the back door. So he was the comms director there. Now he's in Charlotte. Duffy's is pretty great. Duffy's was pretty great. Duffy's was a good find. There isn't quite the same combination of homeliness and menu pricing that make it hard to compete. It makes it hard to compete with that. I seem to recall that it was the same price no matter what you ordered.
Yeah, no, it was anything you wanted was $3, and they weren't going to do math on your account there.
There are some spots in Clearwater that are competitive, but that's a preseason haunt. That's a different category. Different category.
I guess my final question then is, we're about to start the playoffs. Spoiler alert, FC Cincinnati is going to be playing in the MLS Cup playoffs.
Breaking.
As presented by Audi, but as discussed by the PostCast. Carter, as you sit here right now, finish this sentence. FC Cincinnati will win MLS Cup if... and don't say they win all of their games.
Score more goals than the other team.
Thanks, John Madden.
Yeah. I think FC Cincinnati win MLS Cup if the defense shows up. If the defense is there and is like really locked in, I think this team has enough. We've seen it all season, but like this team is able to do it for the most part if the defense shows up. And I think in playoff games, that'll be the difference, is that everything will tighten, everything will get a little bit more intense. And if the defense can hold up, there will be moments that the star players can shine in and they can score, because frankly, like, I just don't think it's like, we know what this team is now going into the playoffs. Like, it would be silly of me to be like, if all of a sudden they're playing a 4-2-3-1 and they're unreal at FM24, like, that's just not going to happen. And so, and I don't even know if that'd be better. Frankly, I don't know what that would look like. So
4-4-2 diamond or die. Come on.
Hey. So if the defense shows up, if the defense is at its best and wins games, they win MLS Cup, I think, which is maybe a zag to, like, if they score 3 goals a game, which, like, you know what, actually, like, if they score 4 goals a game, they win MLS Cup there. If they score 4 goals a game, which is like, I think we were looking it up, like the best MLS season of all time is a 2.8 or like a 2.2 goals per game average. Like that's like and it was like DC and like 98. So it's not quite the same.
There's
but
no
like
rules.
You're right. So it's like
no teams.
So if they score 3 a night, that'll be my other one. If they score 3 a night, they probably win MLS Cup pretty handily.
I look forward to watching that.
Me too.
Yeah. The problem is, though, as they score 3 a night, everyone's going to be like, well, where was this all year?
I like to think you guys had the idea that they were like holding back something.
Yeah.
It was like, I am not left-handed.
Yeah.
I liked that idea. That's fun.
Evander reveals he's been wearing like contacts that were doing reverse vision for him, just like making it
wearing
worse.
like
the
a weighted vest under his shirt the whole season.
It's like Naruto, like the weighted braces on his wrists. It's like, oh yeah.
Denke reveals that like the abs have actually been a weighted vest the entire time, and he's actually skinny and really fast.
He's skinny fat. He's got a little pudge.
Master Roshi's turtle shell.
They signed Jabari because they were putting like some type of like speed rub on Kamara, and it just needed time to like
let it activate.
Let it activate.
It was really funny watching the Sierra Leone game today because like he's just like the biggest player I think the field has ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's like someone was like, oh, where, like one of the guys in the office is like, oh, where is he? I was like, just wait, like he'll come into frame, and there he is.
Slender man running around out there.
And he's playing the 10 for them. Like it's like you got like one dude who's like currently at, like, gosh, I forget. It was in Europe somewhere. Then the other one's like a Minnesota United 2 player, and he's just like dishing it out as like a 10 to them both. And I was like, this is crazy ball. They lost 1-0, so it didn't exactly work.
But I appreciate that the idea was there.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had some thoughts.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, Carter, hey, thank you so much for coming on, man. If you would like, I will let you sign off.
Fuck the Yankees.
I got a quick question for you. You ever heard of the U.S. women's national team? You ever heard of the U.S. men's national team? Well, then you're going to want to keep listening, because get this. We have an offer for you are not going to want to miss at the official U.S. soccer shop, which is where you're going to go for all of your U.S. men's and women's national team gear. The Post is going to be able to offer you 10% off any of the merchandise except for jerseys. Okay, let's not get carried away, except for kids. But there is a ton of cool stuff there. Okay, they're doing a new 1993 throwback collection. You got hoodies and beanies for the fall. It's getting chilly, and you're gonna want some of the winter gear, because there are matches coming up on 10/10 against Ecuador in Austin, or Australia in Commerce City. Believe me, you're going to want a beanie in Commerce City on 10/14 versus Australia. That is for the U.S. men's national team. The women, they play on 10/23 against Portugal in Chester, 10/26 against Portugal in East Hartford. Again, hoodie, beanie weather. And on 10/29, Halloween Eve against New Zealand, Kansas City, Missouri. Use promo code POST. That's all one word, all caps, for 10% off at checkout. This is a very real deal. I don't know how to emphasize that enough. This is a real deal you can use. You can go use the link in the description or use the code at checkout, and we will hook you up. So a huge thank you to U.S. Soccer, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun shopping on the official U.S. Soccer shop. The Cincy Postcast is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to this episode if you aren't listening to it already. We are also putting up video content semi-regularly, including the Away Days series. We want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing the music for this episode. They are a lovely band, and you can find more information out about them in the description of this episode. And if you happen to enjoy what you just heard, can I please ask that you like us, that you rate us on whatever app you're listening to, and maybe more importantly than all of that, share this episode with a friend. When it comes up at work, you're talking about FC Cincinnati, I say, hey, I listened to an FC Cincinnati podcast. I think you guys will like it. It would really, really help us out. Nothing helps a podcast travel more than a good recommendation from a friend, family member. That would be awesome. When it comes to the sorting algorithms that control our lives, a 5-star review would be much appreciated. Also, leaving a sort of written review weirdly does more than that. That's how the algorithms work. So maybe say a nice or a mean thing, whatever. Just as long as you give us 5 stars, that'll really, really, really help us out. And if you are looking for more MLS content, check out our other podcast, The World's Gam. Again, a link will be in the description of this episode. That is where we touch on league-wide storylines and news, and we talk about other games and a couple other teams in there as well. Think you will enjoy it if you are just dipping your toes into Major League Soccer. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. A even bigger thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. But maybe most importantly, thank you for listening to this episode.